Hello ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. Well, it's been 2 weeks from the launch of New World, and I was looking back and trying to find a way to describe my impressions of it so far, and well, the title is kind of what I came up with. Boring, but in kind of a fun way. A game with lots of action and good bits and a lot of running and work in between. A game where you started to throw something up on your second screen when you set out to grind your logging or to run to that other hold because you kind of don't have enough Azoth to actually fast travel there. It's that kind of game that has you thinking, I'll just do this one more thing, and then 2 hours later you're still trying to find a nice point where you've tied up all the loose ends and can log in tomorrow doing something new and fresh. It gives me kind of RuneScape-y vibes, to be honest. And it is a better game than I thought it would be. And I think on top of that, it's going to be more polarizing than I had expected, having played both the beta stages, as at the moment there's few areas of the game which I consider to be fully fleshed out. Saying this, I'm probably pushing 80 to 100 hours in 2 weeks now. Very casual numbers, I know. Obligatory mention, however, that everybody who is a higher level than me has no life, and everyone lower is a noob. How's the player base though? Well, Steam charts means we have real access to player numbers with just over 900k on launch, and on peak time since then, it seems to be around 550 to 600k. Drop-offs for MMOs are of course notoriously predictable. And the launch itself was solid, kind of like Classic that is, in that everybody had queues. This is a side effect of having server caps of 2,000 people, giving it the name Queue World early on. But eventually myself, after I decided that waiting in a server queue that had 10,000 players was not going to be the play, I opted for one with a shorter queue. This was due to Amazon's promise for server transfers, which will at least work within the same region. The last thing you want in an MMO is to be left on a dead-end server, especially one like this where the economy is so vitally important. And Amazon did just go back on their word that you'll be able to transfer cross-region at this point in time, leaving lots of people feeling as though they're stranded and will have no opportunity to play with their friends, when they were assured this would not be the case, something that I feel still needs resolving. Because getting the right server in an MMO, a type of game where you can easily spend hundreds of hours, is a big deal. Back during the launch of Classic World of Warcraft, I waited in 4 to 6 hour queues because there were no transfers whatsoever on launch. Perhaps this matters less for New World though, since it has a smaller player cap and no tech to divide players up artificially beyond rendering a certain amount when people crowd some areas. But eventually I got in and got stuck into leveling and to see the game properly beyond the early few levels. And honestly, if you've not bought in yet, the initial phase of the MMO, the rush at the start, has gone by. It might just be best to wait for a while because bug fixes are flying so fast on patch notes, and promises have been made to expand both the weapons and endgame content around the new year at this point in time. This game isn't too far off being made a much better experience, because at the moment, wow, there are bugs and issues absolutely galore. Animations on characters stuttering or freezing when using weapons. When fishing, the hook icon often just doesn't show up and you have to reset the animation to get it to work. Ability to interact with object, and the ever-present "you are abandoning X activity, go back now before it's too late." I at least believe these two have been fixed. The dungeon content that I did early game felt unresponsive and laggy and just absolutely packed with issues. Weapon swapping is slow and inconsistent. Queuing auto attacks is also slow and sometimes just doesn't work and you have to absolutely bash your mouse to get a response. The respawn rates of enemies in some higher level zones is insane. Some areas feel like you're actually in a gauntlet where you need to rush through or you're going to have to reset the whole place. Oh, also, if somebody aggroes something then runs off, it will default to whoever is nearby. I've been doing some AoE pulls as a mage abuser and have passers-by who get aggro and either die or just mess up the pull. The game frequently defaults to splitting stacks in your inventory even when you're not holding the key to do that. On the storage unit, there is a button to withdraw all items, which is E. The amount of times I've typed something in the search bar to find a particular item, like moat, for instance, and the game says, "Oh, here you go, your entire storage unit, sir. Now you're 500 weight over encumbered." This is one of the things that makes me the most rationally angry about the game. There is drama surrounding players getting automatically banned for being targeted with spam reports prior to war events. Man, this takes me back to the good old Scarab Lord days in Classic. And then we have the trading post. My god, the trading post. For a company who literally run the biggest real-life trading post, what on earth went wrong with this thing? It's so bad. When you list an item to sell, it defaults to 14 days, which means the largest gold tax. This can't be changed unless done manually each time. The deposit can be any amount, and there is no "are you sure" for items over a certain value. So if you, for instance, messed up and pasted 500 gold into a sell price 2 times in a row, it's going to charge you thousands in sales tax. Removing sell orders is just slow. There is a cap of 100 sell orders, but the game doesn't tell you if you're at the cap, it just looks as though it's lagging or crashed. There are no visible item suffixes, you can only search for perks on items, despite the item suffix system actually existing in the game, as in World of Warcraft, where you have items like of the eagle, of the bear, of the monkey, and so on. In New World, you could have hatchet of the fighter, for instance, but when you list an item or go to search one, it will just say hatchet. So you have no idea if it has relevant stats until you actually go and mouse over it. There are no favorite tabs or the ability to set how much you want to sell an item for in the future when you list it. When one of your items is bought, you have roughly half a second on the screen to see what sold before a mystery amount of gold just goes into your inventory. You actually have to go back to a trading post to check the sale history. When selling items, you can't search via their name, only via volume. When you buy, there is no plus or minus for increments of 1 on how many items you want, despite it being there on selling. The list kind of goes on and on and on. There's a lot more stuff here too, but that's just a few of them. Suffice to say, it's not very good. And I suppose after all this, the obligatory mmorpg doomsaying section goes right here. You know the deal, game's dead. I mean, WoW's been on its way out for over 15 years now from what I hear. Despite this, New World has left overall a good impression on me, though I think the way people have been trained mentally to play MMOs has really come back around to bite them pretty hard on this one. Not just in the attitude towards speed leveling, but in picking up as much knowledge as possible prior to launch from online sources, from YouTube videos, from Twitch, and I can't blame people for trying their hand in this endeavor when a new game comes out. That's what I did, but it does take something away from the experience, especially when it isn't a completely fresh game that's never really been explored before, because this feels genuinely one of the most pointless games to rush to endgame in that I can think of recently. There are definitely benefits, of course, access to more higher tier gathering nodes, working on your BIS setups for combat, fishing, logging, and so on, but the amount of content unlocked at higher levels is currently underwhelming, and things you nearly always have access to do whilst leveling. Take WoW for instance, where everyone and their mum smashes out level cap as soon as possible when a new expansion drops, because you want to do dungeons, heroics, mythic plus, raid, heroic raid, mythic raid, arenas, whatever endgame stories there are or meta quests. These are things at level cap, and only after level cap. You get to cap in New World, and quite a lot of it is stuff you've been doing whilst you're leveling with a different flavor. You gather different things, you craft different things, you level different weapons, you do side quests, you get new dungeons, you have wars, and so on. And whilst yes, there is content for only maximum levels at the moment, it pales in comparison to things which are considered endgame content, which can frankly be done at any point in time. And yet, it's so easy to get drawn in and find yourself playing for a long time because the things that New World does well, it does them really well. For me, personally, I can honestly say one of the reasons I played so much is because I wanted to get into the next zone and see how it is, what it looks like, how it's different, what kind of enemies there are there. Yes, New World enemies are not exactly the most diverse, but wait till you get to Ebb and Scale Reach, it's not going to be what you expect. I wanted to know what the Shattered Mountain looked like. The art in game made it seem like this huge volcano, and well, I headed up there the other day and it felt like I was walking into Mordor. I'm not even going to show you what it looks like on video as a spoiler either. You should get there yourself, it's really something to see. The ambience, the lighting in zones like Brightwood, mining deep underground, or heading into overgrown musky caverns. For real though, if Amazon set out to say, hey everybody, look what Lumberyard can do, it's doing its thing pretty damn well here. I wanted to work out farming spots for myself, build up my own ideal weapon setup, find what holds have the most upgrades consistently, find where will be the biggest sales hubs, make my own armor sets with the stats I desire, keep my gathering skills feeling about the right level for the zones that I'm currently in, do some fishing, and well, just explore the game, I guess. And that's why I have been enjoying it, because it offers all those things and does have a huge amount to explore and a massive amount of content if you do want to try and have a character that can do at least a little bit of everything. But if the thing you do once you start to run out of content is run corruption portals for 12 hours a day to get to level cap, hit it and say, oh, where's the game? I think you're going to get burnt really fast. Complete side note, imagine Iron Man mode in this game, by the way. Does that fit at all? Let me know. So, anyway, back on track. Why do I say boring but kind of fun? Because to be honest, the core gameplay loop is kind of dull. There's about 2 types of quest, kill stuff, loot chest, 5 types of enemy, lost, Angry Earth, Ancient, Corrupted, and Wildlife. The activities you do in each new zone is similar to the last, just different environment. The amount of running you need to do once your fast travel starts to cost you 1/4 of your Azov cap, which, by the way, why is it only 1k? That seems ridiculously small now I play more. And there's only so much gathering and running I can do in a day before I think, yeah, that's enough for now. But the next day, I want to do it again, hence the being over level 50 thing. And people are going to compare this game, which has been out for less than a month, to competitors that have been out for many cases in nearly a decade. Sure, it's Amazon, but man, making a relatively successful MMO is so difficult due to how demanding the player base can be. There have already been words of new weapons, further content to follow shortly after launch, and with Christmas soon and this being a buy-to-play game, well, maybe those two things might just have something to do with each other. What I'll say is since the change in direction from full loot PvP to flagging and expeditions, Amazon has accomplished a lot. There are bugs being ticked off at a rapid rate, and I'm hopeful for some more content to roll out in the next few months to flesh out the PvE side of the game a little more than what we have at the moment. I'd say the game's worth $40. AAA games are what these days? Pushing 70 now? What I wouldn't advise to do is go in with absolutely sky-high expectations. Don't expect this to be the game you play for the next 10 years, for it to get a reboot one day with classic servers and to form this long-lasting legendary legacy. If it does become that, fantastic. I'd love to see any MMO succeed to that degree, but as it stands at the moment, we're not quite there. I'd say hold off a bit and see where the game's at by Christmas if you are on the fence and haven't bought in yet, but I feel as though you'll fall into one of two camps. Either you'll get to level 20 or 30 and say to yourself, how on earth has anybody played this game for more than a few hours? This is absolute garbage. Or you're going to be happily playing along within your first week and see the achievement for having played 80 hours pop up and be like, damn, really? I'm going to continue on my leveling and journey. I've definitely slowed down quite a bit since when the game first came out, as I've realized I was overdoing it just a tad. I'll do more content post endgame and see how the new stuff looks and do some updates in the future though, as I'm still really enjoying the game. Let me know how you've been getting on, if you are giving it a go at all or have been on the fence. Your thoughts, whatever it may be, drop them down below. As always guys, thank you so much for watching and listening in. I shall see you all in the next one very soon.